Welcome to the NMBA Draft Breakdown, presented to you by Second Take. I'm here with Mason, Josh, Angel, and I am Frank. Well, let's get to it. So with the first pick in the draft, the Grove Gorillas selected Angel Pecor, which honestly, nobody's surprised. He leads the league in basically every stat, and whichever stat he doesn't lead in, he's second. He has 29 points per game, 16 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, which is a little on the lower side, but apparently that's tied for first in the league. So yeah, I think that's just a great overall pick. What about you guys?
Yeah, I think everything you just said is correct. As somebody who was pretty close to the draft, there was never really a question for Grove Gorilla. It was always Angelo.
Of course.
I don't want to talk about any collusion, but I heard that there was potential contracts that, they had agreed upon before the draft had even started, which is crazy. Wow. But, that's a story for a different it's a story for a different day. I hear there's a 30 for 30 in the works on that.
When I was creating my big board, actually, there was some discrepancy about putting Jacob Zachariah first. But the thing is, I just worry about his availability in terms of games and stuff. Angelo Pecor was the pretty clear choice for me.
I do think that this was a good pick, and I'm personally going to give this pick an A+.
Yeah, honestly, an A+ is a little much, but I think A would be a solid, solid draft.
I think I'm going to stick with Frank on this one. Yeah, I think I got to go A, because it's not like they didn't have to do anything. Angelo just kind of fell into Grove's lap here. You can't give it an A+, because they didn't go above and beyond. That's my personal opinion of an A+. Angelo just fell there.
Yeah,
somehow he fell to the first pick. We were surprised when he was there.
Moving on to the second pick of the draft, we have Jake Nastassian out of Scranton. And this one surprised me a little. I feel like he was overall the consensus number 3 guy, and a lot of people thought that Jacob was going to fall in the second spot, but I guess GM Matt Mena had a vision, and I think he might be blind, honestly.
In my opinion, this was a bit of a shock. Like you said, Jacob Zachariah was in talks to be the first overall pick.
Not many.
To fall to 3,
not too many.
It just doesn't make much sense to me.
We've talked about collusion with the first pick, obviously. Was there some collusion with the second pick? Jake and Matt did go to the same college. But, to just overlook Jacob completely is crazy to me.
Insane.
He, in my opinion, and this is no disrespect to the first overall pick, Angelo, but I think Jacob is the most pure hooper in the NBA. You watch his highlights and you're just mesmerized. He does things with balls that many men can't do.
I did have Angelo and Jacob as a 1A, 1B situation. I had Jake further away from Jacob than Jacob was to Angelo, which I feel like, looking at all the stats in totality, should be a consensus choice. The problem is GM Matthew Mena did not see it that way. As of right now, I believe he made one of the worst draft choices.
I'll give it a B draft grade because, Jake's a great player. Don't get it mistaken. Jake is an amazing player, and he's going to do good things for that team, but passing up on Jacob, it doesn't make sense to me.
I'm going C-.
I can't give it any better than a C.
It's hard.
I'm saying C-. You barely passed. That's C-, Matt.
So now we move on to the third overall pick, which, if you ask me, is probably one of the best picks of the draft, by GM Jackie Lanza. She gets her man at 3 when everybody expected them to go to 2. And I feel like this is going to be one of the greatest teams in the league, because you have a player like Jacob, who is either second or first in a lot of the stats that we count. So I would rate this pick A+, because, you get your guy lower than you expected him to.
In my opinion, looking at this pick, probably the biggest, or tied with the biggest value pick of the draft. Getting Jacob at 3 is ridiculous. Why is he getting picked? It doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense. This is a team of hoopers.
It really is.
The ball IQ is off the charts. I foresee this team doing big things. I'll give this pick an A+.
Yeah. I think that Jacob falling to 3 was probably the shock of the draft. No questions asked. But I do think we have to talk about the fact that, Jake actually attended the draft and Jacob didn't. And maybe that played a part in it. Jackie actually had a hard time reaching Jacob to get him on the phone to say, hey, you're the pick.
I heard she had to use Angelo's phone to face
I did hear. And that's crazy. He was already the first pick, and now he has to go to another team to assist them. I think I'm going to bump my Angelo pick up to an A+, actually, after hearing this news.
I will say, obviously, Jacob was my second-rated player on my big board. The problem is, I had an interview with a female GM after the game. I won't say exactly who it was. But she did say that she didn't really expect Jacob to fall to the 3rd pick, in which she took him. But, it was just a great value pick. Obviously, I have to give it an A+, because it was the best pick of the draft by far.
I'm not sure I said it, but I would also give this draft pick an A+, of course.
So the first pick of the second round was Nick Lenza, and if you ask me, this is another great pick by GM Jackie Lenza. You know, everybody expected him to fall here, and yeah, you know, she went best player available, and it worked out for her. I would honestly give this pick to an A- for me.
In my opinion, for Jackie to get Nick Lenza on the wraparound is just a phenomenal pick. I mean, Lenza is a player that can get buckets. I mean, he has multiple 30-point games in his career, and if you need him to get buckets, he can. And that's exactly what Jackie picked him for. She now has 2 big scorers on her team. Lenza, honestly, in my opinion, is closer to Jake than Jake is to Jacob. I don't think that's a hot take at all.
It's a good take.
So for Jackie to get Jacob and then Lenza at the wraparound is just insane to me. And in my opinion, I think this is an A- draft pick.
I don't think it was ever going to be a question that Nick was available here, you know? Like, either she would have taken him in the first round. I don't think that anybody was questioning the fact that he was going to be one of the top 2 picks. I think you have to, you know, consider that into this pick. Also, I mean, a big thing of mine that I love from Nick Lenza is his just ability to stay on the court. I mean, he's never had a major injury concern. Yeah, I mean, he's just always been a guy that stays on the court. You know, he's great locker room presence, I've heard, and he's going to be able to shoot the ball. Yeah. He's a guy that's going to put points on the board, and that's what you want in the NMBA. I mean, who cares about, you know, the other stupid stats? You want points. Points win games. I give it a B-.
Listen, I mean, Lenza is not one of those players that his stats really pop out at you on page, like when you look at the averages entirely. But he does truly have the ability to just like expand out of these stats that are showing on the screen right now. I truly believe that he is a better player than what those things say. He was definitely on the upper echelon of my big board. I'll give it a B+.
Honestly,
honorable take.
Honestly, folks, I'm embarrassed even announcing this pick because from all of us here at Second Take, we're disgusted by what he's done. You know, I love Shula as I can't even say it, man. I love him as a guy, but he's not the 5th overall pick. 14th in points per game, 16th, which is the lowest in the league, in rebounds per game, 0.2 assists per game, which is another low. I can't fathom it, man. He leads the league in 0 stats. He is last in the league in 1, 2, 3 stats. This is a terrible pick. You know, I actually spoke to GM Matt Mena, and you know what he told me? He told me he didn't know Mason got 12 points per game. Are you out of your damn mind? Are you, like... Folks, I can't express how angry I am by this pick. This disgusted me. You take Jake at 2, which, okay, maybe there's some upside to that. But Shula at 5? F-. F-. I can't.
I was there when the pick went in. I just don't understand this pick. I mean, Mason's staring at you. He's gandering your way. And you pick Christian Shula? You pick Christian Shula? Are you fucking kidding me? This is bullshit. I have no words.
Honestly,
I'm
sorry.
I'm heartbroken. I'm very close to the commissioner, by the way.
Yeah.
Me and the commissioner.
He knows me, and I know
very
him.
close. He knows me. I know him. I am him. And I mean, he was thinking about interjecting into the draft to change this selection because of what it would do to the league.
Wish he would have.
The Otters don't have a second option. What are they doing? I don't know. But, in my opinion, this is a great pick. I would give this pick an F.
I'm not really too certain as to, you know, my co-host anger. I mean, I loved this pick. I thought this was the greatest pick in the draft. I had this as an A++ originally. And, I mean, you look at the numbers, he's splitting up at least 0.5 of everything. Now, I just want to, like, point this out. I mean, Matt Bennett, a first-year GM, right? Obviously, there's gonna be some, you know, some growing pains. But this was a guy you could have gotten in round 3 or 4 even or 5. You could have gotten him at round 5. This was awful. This was the worst pick in the history of the league, and I hope that you get fired. The only reason I was happy was because I knew the guy who had the next pick. Okay, I knew that person, and he knew that he was getting Mason, and he was so happy. Okay, and he wanted you fired.
on the spot. He wanted you fired. This is an F minus minus minus. I mean, there's not enough minuses in the world to disrespect you with how bad this pick was. This was awful. And I mean no disrespect to Christian Schuler. He probably didn't even think he was going to get drafted this high. You know who didn't think he was going to get drafted this high? I don't know, but probably Christian Schuler, because there is no reason why he is getting even talks of second round. And you know where I had him? I had him in the 5th round. I had him going in the Anthony round. I had Anthony Colosi going ahead of him.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
That's my take on the matter.
Looking at my big board, when Schuler was drafted, I couldn't help but feel some disappointment as a draft analyst. I had 3 people under Christian Schuler. I will list them off to you. A guy that is in the military that's currently in Poland.
Kudos to him.
A guy that can't play basketball that goes to the University of Tennessee.
Wonder who that is.
And a guy that can't play basketball that plans to fish for his career. I was really offended when I watched Shula picked. I mean, I don't know Mason Castellon personally, but I believe that he probably jumped up and down at the thought of not having to play for this GM and this team. I cannot believe, I cannot believe that a player that is out of Christian Schuler's caliber was drafted in the second round. The second round. Not even the 3rd round, which I still would have been astounded that he got drafted in that round. I was in disbelief.
What would you grade it?
Sorry. G? I don't know.
So with the final pick of the 2nd round, honestly, great pick. I love it by GM Josh Heller. He gets another guy, Mason Castellon. Nobody expected him to fall this far, and honestly, it's just beautiful. Honestly, I love this pick. You know, I feel like the two of them complement each other very well. I feel like Angelo, he'll get in the paint, he'll cause some ruckus, and then Mason, he'll be ready on the post, put it up, beautiful 3-point possession. I love it. I think this is a great pick. I give this...
How many points?
It's a B++.
Before the draft, there was a discussion, concern for Grove Gorillas.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
The second option drop-off after Lenza and Mason was immense.
Yes.
I mean, you saw Shula's stats. It didn't get much better than that. There was no other second option past Lenza and Mason.
No.
It was just role players after that.
Yeah.
So to somehow get Mason at the end of the 2nd round, for Mena to make such a stupid decision and to cash that in and get Mason Castellon, I mean, you see his stats on the screen. He's top 6 in everything. In my opinion, I would give this draft pick a B+.
Now I'm going to talk about this pick because this was one of my favorite picks in the draft. I mean, Angelo put it very, perfectly. There was just no second options in the draft after Mason. And, I wasn't, in direct contact with Josh, but I have a good idea of how he was feeling when Shula got drafted. I mean, he was just in the war room, and this was kind of like, okay. The NFL equivalent for this would be when Jalen Reagor was drafted ahead of Justin Jefferson. I mean, you just see a guy, and it's like, you know that he's your guy, and you're like, he's not going to be there. He's not going to be there. And then for him to be there, it's like, and then
you gotta laugh.
Yeah, you just gotta laugh.
And then pick him.
You gotta laugh like,
pick him.
haha, this guy, Matthew Mena,
What
might
an idiot.
be an idiot.
Yeah.
He might be. I'm going to grade this pick A+. I mean, it's the guy they wanted.
Sources close to Mason Castellon were reporting that he did want to go to Grove Gorillas. After all, he was the one that came up with, come to Grove, you might get drove, which I believe we have on T-shirts by now. It's just a match made in heaven. Angelo, such a dominant ball handler. A guy that brings as much, defensive attention as Angelo. Mason did love to play with someone of that caliber. It is a reunitement of season 1 with the Big Steppers.
Great team.
He was really happy to be playing with him for the second time. He is excited to probably embark on that journey with Angelo again. So I'll grade this pick A-.
So moving on to the 3rd round of the draft. First pick this round was Matthew Sarcosta, which, honestly, I don't know how I feel about this pick. His availability's been in question all offseason, and it's been rumored that he might not even show up once, which is a little concerning. I don't know how I feel about this one. I feel like his availability's, for such an average player to reach for him when his availability is such a huge question. I don't know how I feel about this. I'll give this like a D+.
Listen, the availability is the biggest question mark. It's not a question mark. He's not going to come to a single game. This is a reach. This is horrible.
Yeah.
It's not even great value. I mean, you look at the stats. He's the Ben Simmons of the NMBA. I mean, he's a great rebounder, great defender. But yeah, I just don't see the vision here. You know he's not going to come. In my opinion, this is a D-.
As it seems, I've had for all of the previous Gorilla picks, I had insider information about this pick.
Must have a guy on the inside.
I actually know that Master Costa was not the first option or even the second option at this pick. The first option, reportedly, Josh Heller, GM of Grove Gorilla, actually called DJ and said, "Hey, we're thinking about taking you with this pick." And DJ reportedly caused this scene in Wawa. You know, the pick ended up being Master Costa, who I think was just kind of panicked. You know, the clock was running down. He looked at the names and he saw a familiar name. I mean, Master Costa's a guy Josh knows very well. He knows me. I know him. He's going to blow up the whole earth. I don't think it's, special by any means. C-.
This might be breaking news. I actually interviewed Matt
Really?
the other day.
Wow.
I did ask him about his availability to show up to some Grove Gorillas games. And he actually said, and I quote, "I don't remember ever being asked to enter my name in the draft." Well, I do see that he did average the fourth most rebounds per game at 9.8. However, I believe that when you're not on the court, you actually average 0 rebounds per game. So I'm going to go with a D+ here.
So with the second pick of the third round, it was DJ Babylonia. Not a terrible pick, which I'm very surprised by GM Matt Mena. Another character where his availability is in huge question because he has been on record multiple times saying he does not want to play this season. He's the leader in steals per game, which is honestly very big in this league. Honestly, I mean, get a player like this in the third round, regardless of availability, even if he shows up for 1 or 2 games or at the full season, it's great. I give this pick a B+.
This, in my opinion, was a home run swing from Mena, and we don't yet know if it's gonna be a home run. I mean, this was the only chance he had, the only value pick he had to possibly save his team from going under. His team is in trouble, and this was the only pick he could have made to even have a chance of saving his team. Because if DJ shows up, his team can contend. But as far as Matt Mena goes, this was his best pick of the draft. Mm-hmm. I'm glad he took a shot with DJ, and maybe it pays off, maybe it doesn't. But I like this pick. Yeah. I'll give it a B.
I honestly, we haven't talked about the fall of DJ. I mean, a lot of big boards that I was seeing had DJ, top 3, 4 potential first round pick. We were looking at, and screw the availability. Everybody's available at some point. DJ's gonna show up. He's gonna come at some point, and he's gonna put up 14 and 11, and that's just something that you'd love to see in the third round. If you're looking at the numbers, one number that we fail to put on this list is bitches had, and unfortunately DJ has 0 of them. So that's all that matters.
Mena needed, as Angelo said, Mena really needed to take a shot. He desperately needed something that you're not 100% is gonna happen. I'm worried about DJ, showing up to games and stuff. But like honestly, what else is he supposed to do here? What else is Mena supposed to do? I'm going with an A+ on this pick.
Wow.
Oh wow.
The final pick in the third round, we have Tia Licciardello. And honestly, this is another great pick by GM Jackie Lanza. Tia's one of the best assisters in the game. A lot of great steals. You get good production from her on the offensive and defensive side of the possession. So yeah, I just think this is a great pick overall by Jackie. So I would give this an A-.
I love this pick by Jackie Lanza. You look at Tia; she's a DPOY candidate perennially. I mean, she's an amazing defender. And she's, like I said before about Jacob, she's a hooper. She played in high school, and she could hoop. I mean, that's why she's first in assists. She knows how to move the ball around, and she knows how to pickpocket. You might call her Tia Alvarado. In my opinion, this was an amazing value pick for Jackie, and I would give it an A.
Tia, great player, of course. Did she want to play for Grove? Clearly not. She didn't want to play with Angelo. I get it. Not a lot of people do. Ball hog. Ball dominant player, but Tia is a great player. Jackie got something great in her. I'll give it a A-.
I'm just gonna make this short and sweet. I believe Tia was the best defensive player available, and you know what they say: defense does bring championships. So I'm a believer in this pick. And it does bring the first duo of a woman. So I'm gonna go with an A. Stay flat.
First overall pick of the fourth round was Nicholas Cumbios out of Lincoln Tech. Honestly, this is a very good pick. They needed some help on the defensive side. I mean, they have Tia. She's great, but she does not have amazing paint presence, and that's what they needed. Nick Cumbia is one of the most aggressive rebounders in the league. He'll be a great player to back Nick Lenza and Jacob Zachariah. I think this is a good pick. I will give it a A-.
I like this pick. I think that Nick Cumbios is the anchor they needed on defense. He makes a three-pointer every once in a while, shooting over his head. And I think the main reason he was picked here is because of the chemistry that he has with Jackie Landry.
100% good analysis.
It's established, it's real, and it exists. Unfortunately, I think my co-host grade was a little too high. I mean, these are fourth-round picks we're talking about. If you're in the A's, I mean, that's kind of outrageous.
Well, I mean,
I'd give this a solid. I'd give it a C+.
I think the effect of the pick is more of a culture pick. You know, not going to see a lot of Cumbios probably on the court. But, you know, I would love to see what they could do, you know, off the court, behind the scenes. Good culture, you know, and you can never hate on the culture. It's not going to, you know, win you a championship maybe, but building a culture is always a great start. I think I got to give this pick, you know, B-.
So one thing I think of when I think of Nick Cumbios is actually this play. I'm going to read it from Mike Breen. Rebound Bosch, back out to Allen, his three-pointer, bang. And when I think about that, I just think of like Chris Bosh, like great rebounder, just created a lot of opportunities for his team as an offensive rebounder. And that's something that Cumbios is going to strive to do on the boards. His 2 rebounds per game is not a representative of what he is on the court. He is a ferocious rebounder on the boards. You know, one of the best rebounders in the game, probably. I'm going to give it I'll give it a B.
So with the second pick in the 4th round, GM Matt Mena, another blunder, picks Frank Geloso, which he's a good player, but
A what?
he's another player. Like, his availability is just a huge question. He's pledged to show up to more games this season, but in the past, he just hasn't been there. I give this pick a C+ for Mena and an F- for Frank Geloso.
I can't hate on this pick too much. I mean, what's left? A couple of Franks. You know, you picked one of them. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. I mean, he's not bad. He's not good. He's a Frank, you know, he's Frank. He's a good defender, you know, in the paint. I have to give this pick a C-.
I didn't love the pick, to be quite frank with you. You know, you're already scraping the bottom of the barrel. It was just scraping a bit lower of the barrel. I truly do think that Frank Falcone was a better option here, especially when you consider the fact that Frank Geloso can't show up to games after 8 p.m. It's a known fact. He's going to be in bed, you know, probably sleeping. So, you know, he can't show up to night games. And the NMBA at night is one of the biggest things on the internet. D-.
Honestly, like, his stats are just better than the other Frank, and that's really all that matters, to me at least. And I'm going to go with a C on this one.
The final pick of the 4th round, we have Frank Falcone out of Tennessee. Honestly, I don't have much to say. He's unproven. You know, he's going into his 3rd year in the league, and he just hasn't done enough. I feel like he's a very raw talent, and with the right development, you give him enough time, he will succeed for your team. He will get in those boards. He will box out for you. He will do what he can, but just give him time to figure it out, and he will be the best pick of this round. I guarantee it. I got to give this pick right now. I give it a B-, but I foresee this could be potentially a pick if he pans out.
Listen, this pick, he's not going to be a superstar. He's not going to be a 10-point per game player even, but he's committed to his role as a role player, and that's exactly what you want in the 4th round. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to play defense. And hopefully he doesn't get tired because he's had that problem in the past. He's been running sprints in the offseason trying to get stamina up, and I think he's committed to NMBA and playing basketball. And that's really all I have to say. You know, he's the other Frank. Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes, I forgot to mention
which is an important thing to mention. But in my opinion, good pick. I mean, not great. 4th round, Frank. C+.
Yeah, you know, I feel like something that a lot of people haven't mentioned, and maybe it's because you're not as close to the GM as me, but this was somebody that Josh Heller had high praise for coming out of the draft. This was somebody who, you know, we might have mentioned it with the Master Casa pick. He was somebody who did get the call. Unfortunately, it ended up being a prank, but it was from the GM. There was thought that maybe he would draft him here. This was somebody who he said was the greatest pre-draft interview I have ever seen. That was direct quote from his mouth. Josh Heller loves to build a culture, and Frank is going to keep that culture up. Sure, there are conditioning concerns. He gets tired. He lays on the floor mid-game. Doesn't matter. He's going to keep the vibes high. Everybody else is going to love him. They're going to gravitate towards him, and he's going to show up to OTAs, which is something I can't say about everybody on the team, unfortunately. A+.
I feel like some people are overthinking this. There was no pick here. There was no selection made. I believe that this was actually who the Grove Gorillas were left with in the draft, actually. So I don't really think I can give it a grade, because they didn't have a choice. So I'm gonna go with no as my draft grade for this one.
So lastly, we're going to introduce the GMs. So first we'll start with Josh Heller, considering he's the first pick. He had a great draft in my opinion. You know, there was some shining stars getting Mason in that second round, Angelo first overall, the consensus number 1. The one thing I will say about his draft that did drag him down a little is the fact that he picked Matt Costa, a character with known availability issues. So, you know, it drags his grade down a little. I give it a B+.
I will say Josh had a really good draft in my opinion. I mean, he got the consensus number 1 pick, and he paired that with Mason somehow, which was a crazy value pick in the second round. I think the third round is where his draft kind of went downhill. I think it was basically a void pick. But he made up for it in the fourth round when he didn't make a selection, and Frank Falcone was just put on his team because he's the only player remaining. But it was still a good pick. I mean, he was probably, in my opinion, the better Frank. And in my opinion, I would give Josh's overall draft a B+.
If we're going to grade Grove Gorilla's draft here, you have to go by the fact that he was clearly building a culture. I mean, if you look at what he was drafting, he was going for guys that are going to put points on the board. At the end of the day, what more can you ask? You want to score more points than your opponent. I'm giving Josh, solid B+ for this draft. I think, a few picks could have been, obviously worked out. That's it.
I'm going to give Josh an A-, and I'll explain why. I think that although I did, kind of say that Frank's pick was a non-selection, whatever, I think that a highly underrated part of his game is how good he could be if he just threw the ball at the square. But other than that, he got the best player in the draft. He got an upper echelon second guy. I mean,
Echelon, you say?
He did get a lower tier third guy, as it is a 0 pretty much. But I mean, you got to look at it at all angles. But I'm gonna give it an A flat. I think it was a pretty solid draft. Yeah.
Matthew Mena, F-. Now, in all seriousness, he had a draft. He showed up. He picked players. DJ was a decent pick in that round. Whatever it was. I'm gonna give Matthew Mena's drafting skills an F-.
In my opinion, Mena is an underrated player in this league. I think he's been overshadowed by the first option on his team over the years. I mean, he's been with Jacob a lot, who's a big shot taker. And I mean, you look at Mena's shooting stats, he's tied 4th in both of them. This is a guy that isn't able to take a lot of shots, but when he does take shots, he makes them. So I see a double-digit points per game season coming from Mena. Now, onto his draft. It wasn't good. It's just straight up wasn't good. In my opinion, the value pick of DJ is what saves this draft from being an F.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a D for disaster.
F-. Just not a lot to say. Awful draft. I mean, he went 0 for 4, call him 2024 Javi Baez. It was terrible. As a matter of fact, the last thing I'm going to say on this matter, if the O-Block Otters win a game, I will start an OnlyFans. Simply as that. They should just change their team name to Free 3 Wins because they are awful. They're just simply put, just downright atrocious. I've heard Josh parading around his locker room saying we already have 3 wins, clearly in reference to the O-Block Otters. They're just awful. So if anybody wants to see my cock online, pray that the O-Block Otters win a game.
Angelo actually kind of took something that I was going to say.
Really?
I was going to say that DJ getting picked by O-Block was the only thing that I will say raised them from an F. Because they made pretty much almost the worst pick you can make at every turn. I was in disbelief by how bad they were. So I will say that they probably got a D- for that one pick that they made, being DJ.
Moving on to Jackie, I feel like she had a great draft. I feel like a lot of people are saying that Matthew Mena actually gifted her the draft. A little bit of a weird move by him, by throwing his draft to make Jackie succeed. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, no, she had a great draft, was able to get the best player available at every single pick. And, she's a great player to also pair with that team. She'd get the ball around, 3rd in the league in assists. Yeah, I think this is a great team. I give it a B+.
Jackie had the best draft. There's no other way to put it. I mean, absolute steal in every round. I mean, you get Lenz in the second. Sure, he wasn't going to go in the first, but it's still an amazing pick. To get Jacob in the first is downright ridiculous, outrageous. I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. To get Tia in the third, clearly the best player picked in the 3rd round. And then in the 4th round, you round it out with Nicholas Kumbios, who you have chemistry with off the field. And he's going to be a great anchor for your defense. And this team is so well-rounded, it brings a tear to my eye. I give it an A+.
Yeah.
This might sound disrespectful at first, but I mean, no disrespect. I think Jackie had the most boring draft, which is a good thing. I think that Matt Mena had the most intriguing draft of the NMBA, and we all know how I feel about that draft.
Terrible thing.
It was awful. Jackie just took the players that fell to her. Simple as that. I mean, I've heard she has some unorthodox coaching, tactics. It was a good draft. A-.
This draft intrigues me a lot, actually. I think going back to Josh's point about being boring, I don't think it was that boring at all. I mean, she definitely got like some good fit pieces, like the Sharpie says, fine point. You made some fine points, but they were also pretty bad. I don't think that this draft was boring at all. I'm gonna give it an A flat. I think that it was a great draft, but I don't really see it being that much better than the Grove. I don't see it being that much better than Grove Gorilla's draft.
And that concludes the NMBA draft breakdown presented to you by Second Take. Please follow us on all social medias and subscribe
Especially
to our YouTube
NBA
channel.
official.